Hey, coming up, are strangers your best accountability partner? Somebody who doesn't know you, somebody you just met, they might make you, help you achieve the biggest, most audacious goals in your life. Today, coming up, Mornings in the Lab, are strangers your best accountability partners? Plus, AJ Zeiglin's here with Mind Fuel. Welcome to Mornings in the Lab, where
when something negative comes up.
Building muscle improves blood flow.
Nobody is expecting Sean.
If your lady's saying that, you're just
Being as a super
Be entertained by fun over here.
How have I slept? Has my sleep been good? That
Hey, there we go. We're back for the morning woo. Yes, sirree, baby. Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends. The only morning show to get your ass to the bed. Yeah, don't roll over and hit the snooze button. You hit it, you're going to be behind. You don't want to be behind today. Today, coming up, why strangers make the best accountability partners. Yeah, that person who's that stranger over there, they're going to help you meet those. They're going to help you hit those big, audacious goals. Hey, listen, this is an explicit show. We might drop an F-bomb. We might drop an S-bomb. So if you have children, I invite you to walk them out of the lab, put the headphones on, or just tell them all about the bad words that we as adults use. You know, like, I'm not going to say it. Also coming up today, Mind Fuel with AJ Zeiglin. AJ dropped something in my feed last night. Why are men still struggling with vulnerability? Guys, come on. Come on, guys. Shed a tear, show some emotion, show some love. This morning on Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends, let's bring in the crew, Jimmy. Let's bring in our boy Marty. Marty from Maryland with the drone. We got Johnny in the black and with the white and the red hat, and the Marty in the red headset. I got the black on. I got the gold glasses on today, boys. Hey, you know, Johnny, Marty, these are actually gold leafed glasses. Yeah, true story.
they look good on you, man.
You know, I was thinking about, the imitation for Keith has got to be the easiest one on the planet. All you got to do is say true story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's
I got
my
impersonations.
Yeah, that's it. See, because he uses that word. That's like that's what he does to really put a stamp on something. It's just such an easy imitation.
You know, I was reflecting this morning, boys, and we talk so we've done 200 shows. So at about 2 hours a show, boys, we got 400 hours of just talking. Marty.
Yeah. Well, you know what, bro? That's like when somebody comes to me and says, you know what?
Yeah.
I've been training for almost a year. Get the fuck. Come back when you've been training for 5. So let's not get all gloaty about some very small feat here.
I know. I love it. And it's funny because as we keep building this thing, I laugh with people like, oh, yeah, you do a show. I'm like, yeah. What do you do? Oh, I got a podcast. Oh, yeah? How's that going? Well, I started it a year ago and I've only done a few episodes. And oh, yeah. And then I had somebody yesterday, Johnny Marty, say, so do you do this every morning? You know what my answer was? I wake up. I got to get up anyways, so I might as well come down, hang out with my boys, have some accountability, hold myself to something. You think about it, Marty, Johnny, it's actually not that difficult, right? Because you're awake anyways.
Yeah, well, that's what it takes. A lot of people never built anything, and they half-assed their whole life, so they're not going to understand what you're talking about, So
yeah, but the funny thing is, Marty, is that you're waking up anyways. You're getting up anyways, so why not get up with a purpose or a mission? I know Johnny gets it, I get it, and I know folks that are tuning in get it, but I find it somewhat humorous. I was having this conversation last night, and this person was looking at me all quizzical, but why do you get up at 4 for the show? I'm like, well, why do you get up at 8 for the rest of your day? I'm getting up for my show. It's I check the box. It's my accountability check-in, and I'm building something. And
here's the thing, brother. if you drop me off in the middle of Paris where they only spoke French, I wouldn't be able to communicate with those people either. And it's just the fact that it's a different language. You just got to realize you can talk till you're purple in the face, and that person, just the word purpose, he doesn't understand.
Yeah, well, that's a fair comment there as well. Absolutely. Hey, so we're gonna come up. We're gonna get into center stage segment here in about I don't know, about 10 minutes or so. We're gonna talk about our accountability partners who are strangers, the best kind of accountability partners we can have. And I'm quite curious, Marty, because you guys in the training business, training humans, I gotta think. If somebody knocks on Johnny's door, Marty's door, you're a stranger to them. And I'm thinking that there's a lot of value in finding a stranger helping you achieve an audacious goal. Because a stranger can be brutally honest with you, Johnny, Marty.
Well, that's the thing is the stranger it's unfortunately the people around us who love us. Their duty is to be honest, but they're not.
Yeah.
So a stranger will be honest. And I think that's the thing that's missed about a stranger being honest. He's got nothing to lose. You get upset with him. He's not really, there's really not a loss there. When someone that loves you get upset with them, that's scary.
Yeah. Speaking of, go ahead, Marty.
I was gonna say, and some people just aren't going to be receptive to their husband or their wife.
Right.
Like, they're not going to be receptive to the information. They're not going to look at it like it's serious, or they're going to be like, oh, they're just being mean to me.
Yeah.
Well, and that's because the husband or the wife is an armchair quarterback. They're sitting there telling the spouse what to do, and they're not doing it themselves.
Yes.
You know, when you got someone that's doing what's handling their shit, and they speak up, it has a little bit more of has more power. And unfortunately, you know, what Marty's talking about is so correct, because that person that's trying to direct traffic can't fucking direct their own traffic. So who the hell is going to listen to them?
Yeah.
Good point.
It's true. Colby Whetker is joining us here at the bottom of the hour here. We're going to catch up with Colby. He was here about a month ago. He had some accountability news. We're going to check up and see how he's doing. But boys, and then we're going to get into we got AJ Zeiglin joining us for the Minefield coming up. Hey, listen, if you're tuning in here, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like the channel, tell your friends all about it. Boys, I found a clip I want to show you. You know, I always like to show fun, interesting, crazy shit happening in the world, and I found this piece, Jimmy. I dropped that piece into your feed. Let's throw it up here on the screen. I found this piece happening in China, boys. This is awesome, or scary, same time. Check this out, though. We're talking fucking Star Wars here. Look at this. That's actually this.
What is that thing?
It's actually a robot. It's actually a robot on wheels accompanying the Chinese department. And so as the Chinese police department are rolling around patrolling, this wheel rolls around with them and is loaded with sensors. Cameras and sensors, like every possible imaginable sensor plus cameras. So just think about that, right? Like bad guys aren't getting away when that fucking wheels are like. You talk about just the future. Like there's the future happening right there, boys.
Yo, they need that, because some of these out of shape cops I'm saying, it's getting ridiculous out here. They need something. These cops just letting it go. They instead of eating Dunkin' Donuts, they eating the whole shop. They get every donut on the thing.
Let's talk about this with grace for a moment. I know you boys are all
my
about...
My bad.
No, let's go here. I know you boys are all about hiring a trainer. You want to hire a trainer that looks like a trainer. So if you want a police officer to show up at your house, don't you want a superhero type police officer to show up at your house, Marty?
Well, it's not just police officers. I mean, you think about this. This happens to, you know, someone passes some sort of a test to get into where they are, and if that test doesn't reoccur, that dude is going to morph right back to where he was before he got in shape for the test, and sometimes an even worse than where he started.
Dude, I never thought about it as simple as that, Johnny. You're right, eh?
Yeah, it'd be because they had to set a standard for themselves to pass the test. Yeah. Test is over, standard disappears.
Never thought about it that simply, but that is actually it.
Yeah, well, and that's our lives right now, because I said not ours individually, but human beings' lives, as they are constantly striving for an event, and they change their standards to get to that event. But then once the event is completed, they fail, whatever it is, either they pass or they quit. Then their standards go right back to where they were before the test, and there's never any true gain.
Marty, you talk about it all the time.
Yeah, I'll say this. Well, I do have a post about cops coming soon. I just want to let you know that. Be on the lookout. But I wanted to add to what Johnny said. You know, a lot of people, if they don't have that forced structure, they just let themselves go. So they don't have the test anymore. So they don't have the structure to work out and prepare for the test. So it's kind of like, all right, cool. I'm just out here, just living, doing whatever, eating whatever. So
yeah, I never thought of
this. One more thing, my fault. With this morning show, we kind of create our own structure. Like nobody has to tell Johnny to get up. Nobody has to tell me to get up. Nobody has to tell Keith to get up. You understand what I'm saying?
I do, and I find it, and I got to be honest with you, I never thought about it as simply as you're putting it. But you're right. It's like we as humans go, okay, I got to qualify for that. And then once we qualify, we just let everything go again, right? It's like, okay, I got to get my LSAT, I got to get my MSAT. Anything we have to qualify for, I got to lose 30 pounds by my wedding next weekend. We hustle for it, and then yeah, I never thought about it that way. That's exactly what happens. It's the human nature, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's some humans' nature.
Yeah. Well, I look at it too, like even with. I think school is probably like the biggest structure, growing up and then part of our early adult lives. But once we're done with school, a lot of people lose their shit.
Yes.
Well, outside of going to work, there's no other structure in their lives. And people struggle with that.
There's something to be said, Marty. I want to stare at Johnny here for a second. Johnny, so Marty, you played team sports. And I know when I started the Business Athlete Performance Lab, I met with a lot of athletes who hockey guys, football guys, basketball guys that grew up in a world of structures, team structure, being told what to do, right? Marty, show up at the gym, do this, right? Yep. But then you got a guy like Anderson and the guys that are in the wrestling world, the bodybuilding world, the strength world. They walk into the locker room, Marty. Where's my team? It's their own mirror. So I find that fascinating, Johnny, because you've had to develop your own human structure that I'm thinking that when you step outside of the competitive arena, it's easier for you to adapt than a guy like Marty or guys who are on teams who wake up on Monday going, well, holy fuck, I'm not part of the team anymore.
Well, I guess the thing people are always talking about accountability partners and I say in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't want to downplay that because people need that.
Yes.
But that's just to get the fucking bird off the ground because that accountability partner, and I'm going to say this in kind of a matter-of-fact way, but sometimes I will be wrong, but most of the times I'll be right in the statement is that accountability partner is going to disappear like a fart in the wind for some reason unknown at the moment. Then at that point, what are you doing? You're sitting there flopping around like a fucking fish out of water looking for more accountability when accountability needs to come. I want that partner is just to get the bird off the ground so you can be accountable to yourself. Once you've got that nailed down, you don't need a team. A team is just icing on the cake.
Yes.
When you have a partner, the way I look at it, when people want to join me, that's great. You can join me. I just need you to work hard. I just need to be someone's going to be next to me. You work hard. You inspire me. I don't care what you're doing, how much you're lifting. Are you giving it up? Yes. But I don't count on that person coming back tomorrow.
Yes.
Yep.
And when I was young coming up, I mean, if I was make the joke, if I had a goddamn nickel for every training partner I burned through, holy shit. But that's where I realized is, okay, these motherfuckers are coming and going. This is like musical chairs. For me to get where I want to go, I need to depend on me and me alone. And that's where accountability, the root of accountability comes down to one simple thing. Can you honor the word to yourself? When you say you're going to do something, do you do it? Maybe be careful what you say to yourself. But every time you say you're going to do something, you better fucking do it. That's the root of accountability right there.
So true. So true. We're going to keep the conversation happening with accountability here in a few moments. We're going to get the check-in going. But boys, Johnny, I've told Marty this story before, but what's up, Shinku Gold? I see you there, pal. Good to see you here in the feed this morning. Hope you're getting your lift in. Shinku's like, yeah, I bought a punching bag. One of the best purchases I've made for fitness.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a good one, brother. But boys, Johnny, I don't know if I told you this story, but a number of years back, I had some young man approach me and say, hey, Keith, how do I, quote unquote, be like you? How do I build a business? How do I, whatever, be successful, do things like you? I said, I'll see you at the gym tomorrow at 6.
Was this back when you were 240 Gordy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So he wanted to know how to do what you're doing business wise.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I just want to clarify.
This was after 240 Gordy. I was all on my way, Johnny. But anyway.
Oh, so you weren't 240 at that point. You weren't Gordy anymore. You left Gordy behind.
I left Gordy. I had met AJ.
Okay, gotcha. So he was wanting to be the new you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorted out. I was all on my way doing my fitness thing at Focus, and it was so forth. But he says to me, "Hey, what do I got to do?" I'm like, I'll see you at the gym tomorrow at 6. He's like, what do you mean? I go, well, I'll see you at 6 tomorrow. He's like, okay. He looks at me all puzzled. He shows up the next day at 6. He does a big workout and everything. Never saw him again. That was it.
Brother, you know how many times when someone says that they want a piece of my action, and I would basically just, especially in the strength world, because it was a real cult world. There wasn't many people that had the equipment.
Well, yeah.
And I had it all. So people would come from all over the Bay Area. And basically, I would put them through we started our training with conditioning. And if they could make it through the conditioning, they could stay. If they couldn't, they had to leave. And it was just
conditioning.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it was like picking up like a 375-pound rock and walking as far as you can, and then the next guy picks it up and keeps going, and you're working in groups of 3. So you got like you're a 2-to-1 ratio.
Bruh.
By the 4th time you're picking that thing up, man, it's all you can do to get it back up to start walking again, and you are breathing through a straw. Or we'll do some sort of a sled pull or push to where it was designed to put you in a really bad spot, because being strong when you're tired, that's what that sport's all about.
Sheesh.
That sport fascinates me, man.
Crazy, man.
Marty, as I've gotten to know Johnny, and I've done a little of my research from time to time into that strength sport, it fascinates me, man. Like I wake up going, okay, so some guy wakes up and says, I want to be a strong man, but in order to do that, he's got to go fight. Equipment to become a strong man. So it's like, oh, hey, I need a guy, Marty, to make me a 400-pound stone. So it's like internet, find me man to make 400-pound stone.
You know, the crazy part when we actually get on Front Street, we're actually competing and traveling, and people support that. I mean, it's crazy how many people volunteer to make shit for you.
Really?
Oh yeah. 100%. Metal Fab Shop is always making stuff. Hell, I even had an equipment sponsor that was making stuff for me. It was pretty cool.
Well, I guess it is, Johnny, because it's not common. Hey, Marty,
no.
Not a lot of guys walking up saying, "Hey, I need somebody to make me a 400-pound stone." Like, honestly,
Definitely.
Well, it's a perfect example, right? So before at my training facility, I had more of a storage unit. So I trained at the store because you'd have to pull the shit out, train, but I had some of it at my garage.
Yeah.
So I'm flipping a 900-pound tire down the fucking street in front of my house. One of the neighbors comes, of course, there's some of them watching. And so I finish, and one of them comes and say, "Hey, man, it's so inspiring watching you do what you do." And then I talked to him for a few minutes, showed him the garage, and in there I had the stones and the platforms, right? So he's like, dude, I could make you some better platforms than this. But yeah, that'd be great, dude. These things are falling apart. Just that kind of stuff,
Oh, I love it.
They just get behind when they get inspired. They want to be a part.
Well, yeah, and it's different. Right, so it's different. It's like you're like, oh my God, there's this big dude trying to become the world's strongest man. I want to help this guy. I get it. I absolutely get it. So
the crazy part about that, I notice you're just ready to turn your music on. Is I look back and I am so grateful for the era that I was there, because it was the era that I was there allowed me to be at that high level at my height. Now I would have a hell of a time. If you're not 6'5" and 375, you're not making it to the top.
Really?
Yeah, it's a very different era now.
Oh, I want to dig into this at some point.
Sound like basketball.
Yeah,
same thing. It evolves, It was the athletic era when I was in, which was perfect for my build.
Really? And now what is just big fucking dudes, John? Like just a big guy. I don't care what you got.
Oh, it's the giants. I mean, you'd rarely find a guy under 6'3". Like for example, remember Eddie Hall?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Eddie Hall looks short, but he's 6'3", 6'4". That's because he's standing next to guys that are 6'9".
6'9".
Yeah.
It's a sport of giants now, isn't it, Johnny?
Yeah, and 6'9" is becoming more of an average. You got guys that are closer to 7 feet. It's fucking nuts.
Well, what's interesting too is I was reading a story. We talk wrestling and stuff on the show here. I was reading a story about Marty Edge from WWE, and why he never had a big push in WWE. It's because Vince didn't like his body. He thought he was too small. Vince is all about big boys, right? So hence Edge really never got the push that we all as fans thought he would get, because in Vince's eyes, he wasn't John Anderson. He wasn't Brock Lesnar. He
Triple
wasn't
H.
Exactly right.
I mean, he was in good shape. He just wasn't a fucking unit.
That's exactly right. It's exactly. Speaking of unit, let's get the accountability check in, Jimmy. I'm getting shit voice from our producer Jimmy. He's like, get on with it. I'm like, all right, I'm getting on with it. And then we're going to come back and we're going to get into the big topic today about why strangers make the best accountability partners. Yes, sirree, baby. Okay, so listen. Are you, nation, are you overcommitting and under-delivering? I have certainly could be accused of that some days. Because I'm like, I got to do all this. And they're like, oh, shit, I can't get it done. But at least we're trying. But listen, accountability isn't about doing more. Oh, yeah, knock on the head here to tell me that one. No, it's about doing what matters. Yeah, it's like driving revenue and actually following through with it. Do what you say what you do. But most of us are stuck in the busy Olympics. Yeah, not the Olympics with Snoop. No, the busy Olympics. You know, busy. Yeah, saying yes to everything, then half delivering on what counts. No, baby. Stop. Fully deliver on what matters. Why? Why? Because we confuse activity with impact. How many people do you talk to? I'm busy. Oh, I'm busy. No, you choose to be busy. You aren't actually busy. You choose to be busy. Maybe the response is I'm creating results. So listen, being a business athlete isn't about doing all of the things. No, it's about having the guts to say no to the distractions around you, even when they're disguised. Well, yeah, even when they're disguised as opportunities. So here's how you're going to start. Write down all your commitments this month. Ask yourself, is this moving the needle or just ticking the boxes? Reschedule, delegate, drop the fluff. Accountability, it's not about juggling more, boys. Nope, it's about showing up 100% for what matters most. Ask yourself this one question as you go through your day today, as you head into the holiday break. What's one thing that you can stop doing today? Just stop it. Put it aside. It's not important. Get rid of it. And focus on one other thing that's absolutely going to move the needle today. That's going to move the needle today, move the needle next week. Make a decision. Stick with it and get after it. There's your accountability check-in. Every day, 8:15 Eastern time. We're going to do something fun next year with this check-in, Jimmy. I think we're going to get into rewarding people for checking in. I think there's some value in that. The only accountability show, the only morning show to get you guys out of bed, get your ass out of bed, not hit the snooze button. Hey, accountability doesn't cost you anything. Johnny, people are bitching and complaining about the cost of everything these days. This show doesn't cost you nothing. Just gotta get your ass out of bed, tune in, hang out with us, and learn a few things to help you achieve some big goals. And speaking of big goals, I'm suspecting, and I did a little bit of research last night, boys, with my AI agents. I'm suspecting that there's power in hiring a complete stranger to help me reach my most audacious goals. And I want to take the next 5 or 6 minutes here to dig into this topic before we welcome Colby back into the lab. And Jim, look at the boys up on stage here. Let's get into the chat about accountability partners and having a stranger. So Marty, I'll start with you, brother. So having a stranger for your accountability partner, it's all about objectivity and lack of bias. If I don't know you and you're like, yeah, Keith, I want to reach this audacious goal, I'm probably okay saying truth to you all of the time. Would you agree, Marty?
Absolutely. Definitely. I mean, most of my clients, like Johnny said earlier, most of my clients that come to me are strangers.
Yeah.
And so they're basically, they're asking for my honesty and they're putting their trust in me. So I think that's the best way, you know.
Yes.
Like I mentioned earlier, you're not going to look at your family members as the best source of honesty, you know.
Yes.
It should be.
It should be, but they don't want to hurt your feelings.
Well, so that segues to my next one, which is the pressure to impress, boys. We often care less about how strangers perceive us because their opinion feels less, well, frankly, predictable, right? The desire to avoid embarrassment or appear unreliable can create a stronger incentive to follow through on a commitment made to a stranger, which I think in many ways, boys, I love this show. Like, I invite anybody, come on this show, get behind the microphone, join myself, John, and Marty, and make your statement, make your accountability, and then hang out with us and follow through on it. It's actually not that complicated. Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I said earlier. I agree with this whole, you know, external accountability thing, but I think at the same point, there has to be, you know, a bigger picture involved. Yes, I'm going to use some like this show or a stranger's accountability, but the finish line is jumping from that small stone to the big one, which is I'm going to get a hold of this shit myself. And I think people never put that as part of their big picture plan. So it's just, you know, accountability partner drifts away, and so does the discipline that follows that. accountability partner.
So, Johnny, what would you recommend to somebody who's first starting out with an accountability partner? They've just hired Marty, just hired myself, Johnny. They just hired some woman named Sue, and they're just getting started. Would you recommend on their journey that there's a timeline for their own self-accountability? Let's give somebody some advice.
Well, first thing you got to think about is that person you hired, is that person interested in helping you do it by yourself first? If they're not interested in that, then you hired the wrong person. Because that person just wants to be your paid accountability partner for the rest of your life. And if that's what you're choosing, that's fine. But most people don't want to hire, some sort of a coach or a trainer for the rest of their lives. That's usually not the way it works. Yeah. So number one, do they want to teach you? And then number two, is in your own mind, is that part of your goal to learn to do this shit on your own? Because if like I've had plenty of clients where I really had a hard time getting them to understand that the goal here was not the 6 months that we were together. Yes, we're going to crush goals in that time, but the goal is I'm going to kick your ass out of the nest, and I want to see you fly, and I want you fucking smashing your teeth out when you hit the ground because you're not downloading and understanding the shit that I'm trying to teach you. Don't just blindly do what I'm telling you. You got to understand why I'm doing it so you can learn how to do it yourself.
Marty?
Yeah, I was going to say, too, to go along with that, one thing with my clients is like, if I'm out of town, you still need to get your ass up and still go to the gym.
Yeah.
I got a day off, not you. I'm trying to help you develop new habits and create a new routine. So just because I might be sick or take a vacation or something does not mean you don't need to go as well. So, but just like Johnny said, we're teaching them to fly on their own pretty much.
Well, there's kind of a chain in this whole thing. Like Marty tends to work with the people that are trying to get those first, showing up down. They need someone there to tell them to count the reps and do this, do that. They come to me rarely do I get someone who's coming to me that's not already going to the gym.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Makes sense?
I'm slowly transitioning to that phase of my career. And leaving the beginners and the early birds, but it's a journey. It's a journey.
For sure, brother. For sure, it goes in steps. There's no question about that.
I like that you guys very much lean into teaching somebody how to disconnect from you guys, because I suspect much of the industry is telling people what to do. But then when the telling stops, the failure begins. So when you're teaching somebody how to fly out of the nest, I love that approach, because what you're really doing is you're saying, hey, Bilous, we're on this journey together for 180 days, but you better be thinking about day 181 because you're on your own, brother. Yep. I guess what you're saying, Johnny. That's exactly what you're saying. And you're
and keep in mind, everybody's different. Sometimes people are going to get to that, whatever their term is. Yeah. Some people are going to get that term and they're going to say, you know what, I think I need to do more. I've got this, but I don't feel like I've got my balance. Okay, let's do some more. But the idea is that they know that they don't quite have their balance, so we'll do some more. Sometimes they'll finish. They're like, look, I understand this and I know what to do, but it's just really helpful for you to be close by. Okay, so you know how to do it. I'm good with that. If you still want me to stick around to help you stick to your shit, that's fine. But the key is they still know that they can do it. That's the service.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Hey, we're talking accountability partners and why strangers might make the best accountability partner. Coming up in a couple minutes, we got C Marty doing the C Marty Fit Tip. Some of the other things that were offered up here, guys, is fresh perspective. No risk of enabling. When there's somebody who's a stranger, they're probably not going to enable bad habits because they don't know your bad habits. So They're more than likely going to hold you accountable to some truths that you really want to have in front of you, and maybe use words that that your folks and friends and family around you aren't used to using.
Unless they don't know the dumb shit they're doing is a bad habit.
Yes, exactly. Right. That's exactly it. What I also like too is because I know as I was starting my journey, reinventing myself with this show here, I had somebody reach out to me about Marty before I met you. I don't know, about 8 months ago, saying, "Hey, would you be my accountability partner?" And I will admit, I didn't know what it meant. I just kept showing up and reaching out to this woman. But what it did do for me, guys, is it taught me how this anonymity really encouraged honesty, because I didn't know her. I was really comfortable just being like, she told me what her goal was. And I'm like, okay, well, you're telling me one thing, but you're doing another thing. So what the fuck you doing? You know what I mean, Johnny? It was that honest of, it was like, but it's like you saying to me, Keith, but I want to go that way. But then Johnny, why the fuck are you going that way though? You keep telling me this, but you're doing this. I found it really easy to hold that person accountable when I didn't know that human being, especially talking over a camera to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you were to hold Lauren or, Brookie or Piper accountable, I'm sure your approach would be a little less harsh.
Oh, it is 100%.
Just because of your love for them. So
yes.
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. There's certainly something to be said for that. Right. So exactly. Okay. We're talking why strangers make the best accountability partners with Keith, John, and Marty here on Mornings and Live with Keith and Friends. And we're going to get to the fit tip. We got Johnny. We got Marty. We got Marty doing the fit tip here. And then we're going to come back and continue the chat. I thought we had Colby joining us here today, but I don't see Colby in the green room. So we're going to keep the chat going. And we got AJ coming up here in 15 minutes. Marty, get after it, brother.
All right, let's get it, man. All right. Now I'm y'all accountability partner, all right? So today's fit tip is going to be, it's going to be a heavy hitter, man. We don't care what you did back in the day. We don't care what you did in the past. And if you glorify what you did in the past, it's only going to hold you back, right? You can't have the glory days syndrome. We don't care that you played high school basketball in 1999 or football in 1999, the early 2000s. We do not care, because at the end of the day, it's not doing anything for your fitness now. It's not keeping you in shape now. It's not getting you on track with your food now. It's not getting you on track with your water. It's not holding you accountable now. And guess what? And I know y'all think I'm young on this show, the people that are older than me. But when you hit 30, you start to decline faster. Your strength declines. Your cardiovascular declines, right? So your flexibility and mobility and joint health declines. So you have to stay on top of those things to keep yourself healthy as you age. We're not asking you to be what you were in high school, but you do want to take care of yourselves. So start small, lift weights, do your cardio, and then prioritize your recovery. And we don't care if you did it in high school, college, or whatever it was. Like I said earlier, it's not helping you now. So hold yourself accountable, or get one of your buddies. First hold yourself accountable. When you learn how to hold yourself accountable, get one of your buddies, get one of your family members that's around the same, in the same boat, have similar goals, and get them to hop on board with you. All right? And stop thinking about the past. It's okay to talk about it, but don't let that be the excuse for why you're not on top of your fitness now. That's the fitness tip for today.
It's funny, Marty. We talk accountability on the show all the time. The Ultimate Accountability Program, the free accountability show. Just gotta get up, guys, and tune in with us.
Yes, sir.
It's a word that most struggle with. We have learned to embrace it here, and we're working on monetizing this whole idea of accountability. I loved your message, Marty, is that you're right, eh? It's like, yeah, you just achieved something good for you. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares, bro. Like, I get so many guys that hold on to that old stuff, man, I'm gonna be honest. If I held on to that and I didn't prioritize myself, you'd be talking to a fat, lazy, non-achieving guy right now. So it's big.
Nobody gives a shit about what you did yesterday. You gotta re-earn your stripes every day. That's the difference.
I love this topic because I had a conversation with somebody yesterday who has asked me what my purpose was. And they said, so, tell me what last year building the show. I said, well, and truthfully, what you're seeing in the last year, glasses off for this one, was you're seeing a man just reinvent himself. A man that was lost after leaving his last identity, Marty, and figuring out what it's like leaving that last world and trying to figure out what's next, right? Waking up at 50, 52, going, fuck, I got lots to contribute to society here. No different than Johnny, right? Okay, I did the strongman. Okay, I did bodybuilding. Okay, now I did this. Now what's next? Right. So he's like, yeah, why are you working so hard? No, this isn't working hard. This is just showing up, just doing what I love. Right. But because you know what, Johnny, Marty, you guys are so bang on, man. And I find this with a lot of former pro athletes. Marty, I'm going with this. They hang on to what their ring said 20 years ago, right? 30 years ago, right? 40 years ago, right? I talked to a pro NHL guy, all-time guys. And you get tired of all the stories from the 80s. You're like, buddy, I've heard that story 30 times already. It's now 2024. Yeah, it's like some guys just can't get to that.
Yeah, those stories are only fun when you ask to hear the story.
Yeah, no, really, man. And I hate to I hate to bring up this example, but so my dad played at Georgetown University, and a couple years ago they had Patrick Ewing as the coach.
Yeah.
And Patrick Ewing is a NBA Hall of Famer. His time was the 80s at Georgetown, and he thrived in the 90s in the NBA, and he was the head coach. And people are like, oh, yeah, he's going to get some recruits in. And I'm like, you think this guy from the 80s is going to get these young dudes? They don't know who he is, and they don't care, So you kind of can't let it go. So it's like, what is this guy doing now?
I'm so with you, brother, but here's the thing. And you're spot on. I so agree with you. But I think what people tend to not realize is people say, oh, my God, he's going to get the recruits because they don't quite realize that he didn't become bigger than the game. Like Deion Sanders, same thing. He was, but then when he showed up to be a college football coach, he was bigger than the game, so he changed everything. So Patrick was great. He was, like you said, he thrived in the NBA.
Yeah.
But you didn't see him, fucking turning the goddamn headlines upside down all the time like Deion Sanders. So it's just a misconception of people's, they just don't quite understand how the process works, but I totally agree with you. It's just people don't quite understand how the shit works,
Absolutely.
It's that's a good example of Deion, though, Johnny. You're absolutely right, eh?
Yeah.
High profile fellow comes into a college program and gonna just turn it upside down, and he did really to the most extent. He did, didn't he? He had quite success there.
Well, he turns a lot of shit upside down.
Yes.
That's what he did. He just turned. That's how he gets from point A to point B. Shit gets turned upside down in the process.
Yes.
And I don't mean upside down is bad. He just flips shit over. You know.
But I love the Patrick Ewing example, right? Because that's a great one. Because anybody who knows that, who grew up like my age, Johnny's age, we're like, oh, Patrick Ewing, and then you kind of go, wait a minute, it's not 1985. It's 2024. And you quickly go, oh, and this person's gone by, this person's gone by. Like, you think of LeBron James, how long has LeBron been playing? 20 years?
Yeah, 22.
Right, so think about that. So 22, like 23 years. So somebody being born right now is looking at LeBron like you and I are llooking at Patrick Ewing, and that's generations ago.
In 20 years, LeBron could be head coach and do similar to what Deion did because, he became, he's movies. He became bigger than the game, too.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, boys, I think we got somebody in the green room. I think he's got his headset on and he's clapping his hands here, and I think he's going to show up here on the show. So I think, Jimmy, we got to bring in Colby Whetker. There's Colby.
What's up, y'all?
Yeah, how's it going, brother?
Yeah, sorry for the tardiness. Literally, whole house has been sick the last week, right? So it was like last minute audible to get a kid to school. So.
Well, the fact that hey, listen, I appreciate you taking some time out with us this morning, to hang out with us, and I'm also appreciative that family and kids are first. So the fact that you had some time to come hang out this morning is great. You showed up a few months ago. We hung out with you, and you had a big announcement that we're going to refer to in a second. Before we get there, how are you, man? How's been your morning? What's been the morning like at your house?
Yeah, good. I got coffee and I'm healthy, so I'm good, man. And I'm chatting with you, so even better.
Awesome. So is everybody sick? The whole house is sick?
Yeah, we got. I feel like the whole world was sick the last 2 weeks. We got a stomach bug real bad last week, so it was a lot of cleaning supplies. We'll just keep it at that.
Oh, dude, the stomach bug when people are puking, that's the worst, man.
Yeah, and there's enough humans in here to fill a hospital ward, so we got it done though.
Did you get sick? Did you get sick also? Or were you first?
I was last.
So you were basically when everybody else was puking and you were cleaning up all the mess.
Yeah, pretty much. So I got to be janitor first, and then got to be the patient last. So yeah,
it's first and last. They both got it. The ones in the middle, they get lucky.
Dad's holding the bag. Dad's just watching the whole house go around the corner. He's like, all right, I'll hold the bag when you guys are all done. Bring it to me, and I'll just finish up the mess here. Right? That's how it works.
Not wrong.
Yeah, and you can just be a few seconds late, and you got a huge mess. We had it reminds me of I had a similar situation, just mowing down the house, and I was first, so I got through it. My middle daughter was next, and I get her bunk bed, and she's like, "Daddy, I'm not feeling well." I'm like, "Okay, let me go get a trash can." As I'm turning the corner, She leans over the bed and just bam, just covers the floor in puke. I'm like, God damn. That 5 seconds, that 5 seconds just cost me like 90 minutes, man.
Right.
Had that exact situation, about on last Wednesday. Exactly.
Oh, man.
So Colby joins us from the Autonomy Agency. Colby was with us about 6 weeks ago or so. And Colby, you were so kind to hang out on the show with us. And then you made a declaration. You made a statement. And I said, oh. And I remember what the statement was. You remember what the statement was. And I said, hey, why don't you come back in a few weeks to talk about how you're making out with that statement? And you said, yeah, I'll sign up for that. And you got off the show and you re-signed up for today. So, Colby, let's revisit the statement you made about 6 weeks ago here on the lab. And let's see how you made out following up on that statement. Colby Whetker.
Yeah, well, you got to remind me exactly what I said. But in short, I'd say I delivered on like 50-60% of it. So I still got ways to go, Keith. I think
the plan was that you were going to put drinking aside.
Yeah. That I definitely did. So I thought it was also tied to work. I thought it was tied to working out as well. But the drinking went way down. I think I went out socially once maybe since we met.
Nice.
That's been way down. There's just, I don't know, once I hit 30, man, it just got way less interesting. You know what I mean?
So you're right. It was drinking and then lifestyle change. It was, I'm going to commit to not drinking and I'm going to commit to taking care of myself a little more effectively than you had been. So, and we're all about here, Colby, it's about grace. We're all about, if we fell over yesterday, we're going to restart again. So the fact that you're getting after, the fact you showed up here today, even though you got a sick house, tells me that you're heading off in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I don't want to imply that I have a drinking problem. It was literally you gotta work out more and drink less. And so that's definitely tipped in a better way. It's kind of, it's one of those things where I was actually Googling the other day, like, what are the best workouts while sick? And the majority of it was like, don't work out, get better. So that's kind of annoying. I'd rather work out. But if sickness takes over, then you just kind of let it ride and just make sure it's not a forever you stop kind of thing.
Well, I'm gonna give a chance for Marty and John to perhaps give you some shit, because I think the answer they would give you would be, hey, Johnny, I want to work out today, but I'm sick. Johnny, what are you telling Colby at that point?
Depends on what kind of sick. If, like, for example, my rule for myself is if I'm puking, that's a day that I'll not train. But outside of that, but keep in mind, training can be a lot of different variables. The next day, if I was puking yesterday, I might go for a walk today, and it really depends on, most people are going to think that my answer is going to be, you have to train, Well, what it comes down to it is you have to do the best you can to stay on your diet is what needs to be the top of that totem pole. The training can just be blood flow.
Oh, yeah. Get yourself moving. Yeah. Marty, your comments to Colby?
Yeah, if you're puking, stomach hurting, you got to sit down, and you can't be effective if you're not well. But if you woke up with a runny nose or the sniffles and you were like, yeah, I'm not going to work out today. Yeah, we don't do that here. We tough it out.
In that voice too. No, we don't work out that way.
Yeah, that's what your voice sounds like when you say it. Yeah,
because really, you strip all this shit away. What we're really talking about is exercising discipline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. Well, and I think my advice to Colby would be, because I don't think I know we don't talk about it enough, but it's just getting your rest, right? So I get your blood flow moving, but then equally get some rest, get some sleep, and then, rejig, rehash, and go after it again tomorrow. So, and one thing, Colby, too, that I'm glad you brought up the comment about drinking, because there always seems to be this, but I don't have a drinking problem thing. No, that's not what it's about. And I never suggest that. And I know nobody ever thinks about that. But we as humans get so quick to defend ourselves when we're like, I'm not drinking anymore, but I don't have a problem. No, it's just we're going to make a different choice. Right. And I it's like when we like use words like I just wanted to reach out. No, I wanted to reach out. Not just, I wanted to reach out. And you're saying to yourselves, no, I'm making different, healthier choices right now. And my goal is to have less choices that include alcohol in them and more choices that include more physical activity, right?
Yeah, nailed it. And you guys actually nailed it on the rest part too. That's something I really dialed in. Is before it was kind of sporadic, right? So now it's like every night, basically no later than 9:30. So that's been super helpful.
Yeah. That's interesting. All right, well, listen, we got AJ Zeiglin coming up here to talk some mental health and vulnerability. Colby, can you stick around for that conversation? AJ knocked on my door. Yeah?
Yeah, I got you, man.
Let's do it. So Colby, so AJ knocked on my door last night, guys. And he's like, Keith, I know you guys are really, and Marty and Johnny, you guys are going to like this. He's like, guys, he says, Keith, I found this Reddit feed where there's men still struggling with vulnerability and men still being penalized for talking expressively and using their emotions and talking about emotions. Because he says to me, I think there's still a big gap here. I'm like, let's talk about it. So we're going to do the lifestyle tip with Johnny. And then we're going to come back and talk about this Reddit feed about why men still seem to struggle, Colby, with this idea of expressing themselves vulnerably. Right. And I know we're trying to change that paradigm here on the show, but we're going to have AJ Zeiglin, our guy from Mind Fuel, mental performance coach. We're going to talk about it in 90 seconds. But before we do that, we're going to get Colby off. We're going to get Marty off. We're going to get Johnny up. And we are going to do this. Get after it, Johnny.
All right. What can you exercise to get really, really strong mentally, physically, emotionally, the whole kit and caboodle? What is this thing we're talking about? It's called discipline. And yes, you need to exercise your discipline, because if you don't exercise it, if you don't practice it, it will go away or it will get weak. And when you have the discipline to do the shit you don't want to do, you are going to get good so much faster than you think you will. Simply honoring what you say to yourself is discipline. And when you can do this, everything will change. So think of it from a simple standpoint. If you can exercise your discipline every day, you're going to get what you want much, much faster. Check it out. Rock and roll.
Oh, discipline, the hardest thing for all of us to follow through on, but yet the most rewarding thing when we follow through on it is this idea of discipline. All right, joining us, AJ Zeiglin, coming here from sunny, cold Winnipeg, Manitoba. What's up, Mr. Zeiglin?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Good to see you today.
What's up, AJ? How are you, brother?
I'm great, man. I'm just happy to see you guys.
Awesome. AJ, you haven't met Colby. Colby was here a few weeks ago. Colby's an honorary member of the lobbies. Colby, you're in Ottawa, aren't you? Where are you, Colby?
No, I'm actually in Milwaukee, so I'm a little south of y'all.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. You're in Milwaukee here. So boys, let's get around the table. Great. AJ, you dropped something in my feed last night, which I was quite intrigued about. And I'm like, dude, we got to talk about this. And I was struck by your reaction to it.
Right.
Because you're like, Keith, I still think there's a big gap here where men just don't feel like they can still talk. AJ, let's talk about the Reddit article you found. Let's talk about what stood out for you and maybe set it up for the audience right now. Talk about the article, AJ, and what struck you about it, first of all.
For sure. I just want to start real quick, though, by saying that Milwaukee is a underrated city.
Oh, yes, you went to school there. Yeah.
I love that city to death. But anyway, okay. So the Reddit feed that I found, I just thought it was really interesting. It's a Reddit feed called Ask Men, where people can just write in a thing. Males, females get a perspective, the male perspective of kind of what's going out there in society. And it was just on the topic of vulnerability. And it was this female that had written in that had said, like, hey, I've noticed that it seems like men that I know in my life basically have been vulnerable, are more likely to try it, but it hasn't been received very well from society or from their significant others or their partners or whatever. And then, so then you go to the thread and, it's just comment after comment about all these men that kind of took that first step to be vulnerable, to share, to express themselves, share their feelings in some sort of capacity, to just feel like they were instantly shit on, you know what I mean? And kind of kicked to the curb, and they were ridiculed by either their partners, the females in their life, by society, by the people around them. And then they feel like they're in this tough spot now because they're like, hey, I thought this is what everyone wanted me to do, and now I'm doing it. And now I feel like as soon as I start doing it, the perception of me from the people around me and from society, my community, is that I must not be a real man now because I just shared my feelings, or I must be weak, or I must. So it's like all that stigma that the male had to originally fight through to share his thoughts and feelings in the first place almost ended up coming true, and not from himself. he was able to get over that and deliver what he wanted to say. But then from his community, society, the people around him, people in the circle, his loved ones, felt like they did not receive it how, you know, they were hoping that it would be received, right? So I thought it was really interesting thread, and just like, you know, it's not like it's a scientific study or anything, but sometimes you can kind of get your finger on the pulse of what's going on in society. And when you scroll through this thread and there's like comment after comment, where now it's like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 200 comments, and they're all saying the same thing, that this was the male experience, that after they were vulnerable, they were almost shamed for it. You know, I thought it was just really interesting that we're kind of taking men to that first step, right? We're convincing them, hey, you got to do this. You got to talk about things. You got to say stuff. Don't keep it in. Vulnerability. You got to be courageous. You got to do this. And then we haven't really given them any advice or talked about, once you do this, what happens if it's not received in a positive way? What happens if you get spit on for it, right?
Have you experienced, AJ, in your practice? Have men come in expressing that, AJ, yourself personally?
You know, it's a good question. I instantly thought about that, right? I would say for myself, it's been more on the first half of it, right? Men come in with a certain amount of hesitancy, and that if I can get them to encourage them to be vulnerable with me in that room that we're hanging out in together, then that's a great first step, right? But obviously I'm aware of the situation, and I am, you know, we call it unconditional positive regard. So I'm super supportive in that situation, and I'm trying to encourage that behavior, right? I haven't really had a lot of personal experience yet where people have come back from it and said, hey, I tried this with my wife or my partner, or my girlfriend, whoever, and I was kind of ridiculed for it, right? But yeah, it's interesting either way, right?
It's interesting. Good morning, Adam Peters. I see you there, brother. I see that Colby Whetker created Adam Peters. Colby, we got Adam joining us here this morning on the show. He's giving you a positive shout out. Boys, Colby, Johnny, Marty, when you hear AJ make the statement about this Reddit thread, let's go around the table. What comes to mind? Colby, starting with you. What comes to mind when you hear this? Are you disappointed by it? Are you surprised by it? Or are you like, oh yeah, I'm vulnerable and people give me shit all the time about it? Colby.
You know, honestly, I had a billion thoughts with it. It's tough to know what thread to pull. I can only speak from my personal experience, right? And so somebody asked me the other day, like, who inspires you? Yeah. And my answer was odd, but I said me, right? Yes. And I think that it's one of those things where it's like, it's not an ego thing. It's what I'm hearing with what AJ's discovered here is there's just so much outward, so much like codependency on what other people, like being accepted by others. And there's no clear way, but what I will say is, like, the more and more you can look inwards and say, you know, if all this went away, am I still doing what I'm doing? Am I good? Am I whatever? Right. Then it's kind of like the ability to be vulnerable. I feel like you see a lot more pathways, because I'm not saying don't be vulnerable, just like shut it off. What I'm saying is, if you look at yourself first and say, I'm good, but I could be better, then you'll actually look at pathways and be like, okay, well, if I'm vulnerable with these people and they're not down with it, well, then I'll go find some other people. Yep. Right. Yeah. The word, like, whether you pay for a mentor, whether you get therapy, or whether you just have that really good friend from like elementary school, it doesn't matter who it is. Right. But if you think, hey, I'm trying to get it from this one well and this well only, and it's not delivering what I need, then go find another well. Yeah.
Well, I think when it comes down to it, I think the foundation of this whole thing is if a person, in this situation, a man, learns to be unapologetically himself, number one, he's going to attract the right people. But number two, then the people that don't agree or that ridicule him, it doesn't matter because this is me. And if you don't like the fact that I just had a moment of vulnerability and you want to talk shit, that's your deal. But this is the way I feel. And if you don't agree, go disagree over there.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Marty.
I say, you know, as men, we kind of have to kick ourselves in the ass, right? So you got to go to the wrong person. It has to happen. You got to go to the wrong person, express yourself, get the response, and that might be the way you have to learn hey, this isn't the person for me. This isn't the person I need to open up to and be vulnerable to. So you kind of got to be thankful for that, and now you can use some discernment, and you can pick and choose who you can go to.
Your tribe will show up.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Marty, because I've made no secret that a man that's changed my life is on the show right now, AJ Zeiglin, as I was going through some of my periods in life. And I would say, AJ, in kind of talking with you right now, it was like a testing phase as I got to know you, right? And as I got to continue to know you, you continue to give me the confidence that I can keep opening up with you. And the more, and that feeds what Marty said, is that I kept opening up and you kept responding positively. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to keep opening up. Yep. But to Marty's point, the moment that I open up to you and you give me something that I'm like not being receptive, I'm probably turning in a different direction. And maybe that's what you find in that Reddit feed, to Marty and Johnny's point, which is that maybe some men just haven't found their tribe yet. And maybe that's the bigger problem, AJ.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I think I love what everyone's response was there. Yeah. Those were great responses. I really enjoyed listening to them. I think there's a lot of truth in what everybody said. Yeah, I think, in some element, kind of what Colby was saying is and to paraphrase, I don't want to put words in his mouth for him, but I feel like he was kind of saying like, hey, you're kind of doing this because you believe it's the right thing to do. So you're doing it no matter what, because in your heart, this is the right thing to do. This is how you want to be. Right. So you're not doing it because you're hoping to get a certain response out of other people. You're doing it because you believe it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And I do love that approach. I love that kind of line of thinking. And then I love, what John and C. Marty are saying with, hey, then people are showing you who they are, and maybe they're not the people that are part of your close tribe, right? Maybe they're not going to be the people that you go to for stuff like that, or the people that you're going to keep as close to you as you continue to progress and develop through life.
Well, and AJ, isn't that what, when you hear Colby's response, you as a therapist working with clients, the response that Colby gave is ultimately where you want to get your client, right? To their own mirror. Right? Because if you can look into your own mirror and recognize that it's not about somebody else's ego, it's not even about your own ego, it's about satisfying your own human, you're well on your way with your own purpose, AJ.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. The whole goal is to empower the individual, to let them know that they're capable of doing whatever they want to do. Right. And along the way, that's going to be coming to the realization, that the decisions you make, the things that you're doing, they might be tough. There might be resistance there, but you're doing them because you believe it's the right thing to do. So like he said, if you got to go back and do it all over again, you're doing it all over again because you truly believe that that's, you're doing your best and it's the right thing. So
boys, is it as simple then that if you're being your human, you're being yourself to your buddies, and you're not getting the response that you think you should be getting from your buddies, is the tactic we're offering our audience get new friends?
Well, here are you like perfect example when I'm open with my feelings and I tell someone that I love them.
Yes.
There's no expectation of a response.
No.
Right. And so if you're opening up with looking for some certain response, why are you opening up? Are you just if when a person is vulnerable and they explain how they feel, that's how they feel. Now, if you're doing with the expectation of a certain response, the odds are you're going to get let down.
Yes. Yeah. Colby, I noticed that resonated for you. You pointed into that when Johnny said that. Colby.
Yeah. I just think expectations might be one of the biggest diseases on earth, right? Like you honestly. It's like when someone says, go see this movie. It was the most amazing movie ever. And they hype and they hype and they hype. And you watch it and you're like, yeah, it was a good movie. But it feels disappointing because you set the expectation it was going to be a top 5 movie you ever saw. It's just like if you go in there and are willing to accept, okay, if you're one of the people where the world happens to you, well, then what choice do you have? Right? It's going to happen. So why would you choose to put a false expectation or something that's impossible to deliver on? Choose to find the brighter side of it, right? It's kind of, it's kind of like the Stoic philosophy, or like the obstacle is the way, or whatever.
The Stoics are the best, brother. Oh, baby.
It's coming to you. So every single thing is a choice. You can look at it and say, "Oh man, well this is life ruining or this is life defining." It's up to you.
Yeah, the biggest challenges that land in front of us are our biggest blessings if you negotiate them and you push through them, because you figure, oh my God, look at this thing that just landed in front of me. Stop staring at the thing and start staring at the better version of you on the other side of that thing.
Yeah. And you have to give something up to get it, right? So one final thing I would say on this is, if you are seeking to be vulnerable and be accepted and all that sort of stuff, have you delivered that for other people? If someone's come to you, like, I'm not saying it's about everybody deserves it, right? But don't only expect to get and not give. That's insane.
Yeah. Oh man, that's powerful right now, because I'm working with somebody who's looking for a lot of, I'm trying to find the words, what you just said, Colby. They're looking for a lot of perhaps empathy and support from others, yet I'm finding they're struggling to give what they're wanting from their surroundings. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and like especially this time of year too. I'm just using like really benign analogies, but I kind of hate Christmas because of gift giving, like Thanksgiving all day, because it's just food and family, right?
Don't even get me,
but like
Colby. Don't even.
But
get me.
I love giving gifts.
Yeah.
I don't care if you like it or not. It's the thought that counts. But when I hate receiving gifts, hate it, because I grew up in a house where it was attached to, you better react properly. Like, that's crazy, right? So it's just like, if there's so much tied to the thing, that is the wrong reason to do the thing. Like we said earlier, believe in it or don't do it. That's it.
I've experienced a few people in my life that are not close any longer, excuse me. And it's because every time there was a gesture made, there was a clear expectation on what was supposed to come in return. I'm like, I didn't ask for this.
Yes.
I didn't ask for this, and I surely don't want to do what you're asking for. So please stop giving me shit with the idea that I'm going to give you something back. And then if I have to say that, that's basically my exit. Because it's like, okay, everybody was going to make a mistake, but you see that pattern pop up multiple times. Okay, this person doesn't understand the idea of giving to give.
Yeah, I have some of those similar feelings about Christmas, which we're going to get more into next week. But we got to wrap up here with AJ. AJ, listen, man, I'm appreciative you've thrown this topic on the table. It strikes a chord with a lot of folks. It's a great topic. AJ, in less than a minute, how do we wrap it up for today? What would you tell a man who's listening to us right now and wondering what to do next?
Yeah, so keep going. Right. You started that process of being more vulnerable because you believe it was the right thing to do, and you've made that decision. You've accumulated that information that's led you to that decision. Keep going. Right. If you get resistance and you get pushback, there's a good chance you're doing the right thing. Just, keep going, keep working through it. And like Johnny said there, everything that you want, you've decided to make that decision because you're trying to change the person you are. You're trying to develop as a human being. So that new version of yourself, everything that you want's lying right on the other side of that hard work. Right. So just keep going through it. Just stick with it. Even if you don't feel like you get that support or that response that you were hoping for. Like everyone said today, you don't do it with any expectation of receiving anything. Just do it because you feel it's the right thing to do, and keep your head down and keep working.
And AJ, is as funny and simple as it is, and Anderson talks about it all the time, but if somebody is talking smack about you, then you're actually on the right track. Right. So if you're wanting to be vulnerable,
you're on the right track.
If you're wanting to be vulnerable and be honest with your buddy, and your buddy is not wanting to give you what you receive in return, then keep doing it, as AJ said, and get a new buddy. Right.
And even better, if they're talking behind your back, that means you're already ahead of them. Keep fucking going.
Another sound on the board.
Yeah.
I fucking love that.
I won't lie to you guys though, because I feel like I'm getting to know this group pretty well, and I was pretty sure when we came with this topic, this conversation, I did have expectations that everyone would deliver really valuable thoughts and points of view on it. So I had an expectation, and you guys all met it. So
well, there's but that's a really good point, brothers. There's going to be a certain group in your life that operate at your level, and there'll be some expectation, largely just because you're used to seeing what they do. It's not like you're needing something. It's just you kind of know they're going to deliver.
Absolutely.
Well, and AJ, and you never met Colby before, but the fact that you learned Colby was from Milwaukee, right away your expectations went, oh, well, this guy's fucking cool. He's probably going to drop some bombs. He's probably going to be full of knowledge. And little did you know, AJ, Colby delivered.
He did. And you know what? I actually do remember when he was on previously, it must have been a Tuesday or Thursday. I do remember listening to Colby talk before, so I know this wasn't the first time that I met him.
That's right. Awesome. All right, pal. Listen, AJ, I know you got a busy day ahead of you, pal. You have a great one. I always appreciate you joining us here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we'll get into what's happening next week a little bit later today. But Mr. Zeiglin, you stay warm, okay, pal?
All right,
thanks,
AJ.
guys. I appreciate you guys.
AJ.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, AJ.
All right, good topic. AJ's out of here. I know Marty's out of here. We're gonna restart here. Morning Loop Reloaded here. Marty's gonna go. Hey, Colby, you sticking around? You gotta take care of sick kids.
I can stick around for a little bit longer. You got me.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Colby's gonna stick around. Me and Johnny. Marty's gonna get out of here. Marty's gonna go and fly the drones in Maryland today, and
right.
go train a few folks along. I like Trump's response. He's like, "Don't worry about everybody. Just don't worry about it. Just it's all fine. We're just flying drones. Yeah, we're just searching for a dirty bomb."
Yeah. So
it's in Milwaukee.
He got enough shit on his plate to worry about. So
all right, Marty, have a good one, buddy. Johnny's gonna go for a break, and I'm gonna reset second hour here. We're gonna get into I'm gonna be vulnerable. I'm gonna get into 8 ways I've grown, Colby, since my last relationship. I'm gonna lean into a man's perspective on emotional evolution. So we were talking, how we evolve as human beings, and I'm going to share some of the experiences that I've had in my life over the last several years, and perhaps Colby spurring on others to maybe do the same. Because if we're still the same as we were yesterday, we're not moving any further ahead, right? So, hey, Nation, the first hour we got into. We've talked about accountability partners being strangers. Hey, Colby, what's your point of view on this idea of having a stranger for an accountability partner, and perhaps there being more value in a stranger instead of somebody you know? Colby.
I place a ton of value on it. I have personally invested quite a bit in the last couple of years, having never done that in the previous years. And it's the shortest way to say it is it's been a life changer. So the only caveat I'll say is that they need to be a qualified stranger. Right, not just a stranger.
Elaborate on that, brother. Elaborate on that.
Well, honestly, I think it's, the reason I am invested in mentors instead of just tried to go seek someone for free is, one, I'm at that stage in my career, but also, honestly, whether it's a business coach or a life coach or whatever it is, I think your investment is key, right? So I'm not saying you have to fork over like 5 figures or anything like that, but if you're just casually approaching getting better, you're going to get casual results. Yes. So I personally believe in investing in a stranger. I think is more valuable than a friend because it almost cuts away all of the nuance and gets you into what are we trying to accomplish? What's the transformation we're after, and that sort of stuff. And they're going to be much less biased than someone who knows you well, right? So I couldn't recommend it enough so long as they're qualified. And again, same as like conversation before is you have options, right? So don't just settle on the first person. If it's not a hell yes, then go to the next person.
Yeah. All right. So Johnny, we're going to get into conversation here in the second hour, Johnny, about some things I've learned, and I think you're going to lean into this as well, pal. We're talking about emotional vulnerability with AJ here. I want to get into this conversation, this topic of things that I've learned since my last relationship, how I've evolved as a human being, John, and how I continue to evolve and how I want to continue to evolve, because as we know, guys, we're never done learning. So I invite you guys to be part of this conversation as well. But listen, what I have learned in my time frame in relationships, both in my previous one, I am of course divorced, is that, boys, I need to listen more than I speak. And one of the things that I learned going through my old relationship and even starting the show, boys, and to those of you that are tuning into the show or are hearing this on the on-demand, man, start a podcast to learn how to listen, even from the technical side of things, because when you're talking over somebody, you can't make great second-hand repurposed content. But let's lean into this idea of listening more than speaking. Johnny, starting with you, brother.
Well, I mean, fuck, we got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You know? And
Yes.
I mean, because I guess it really comes down to this. I mean, so listening has been in my relationships it was a challenge too. I'm getting better at it, you know?
Yes.
And sometimes all of it, because, you know, and Terry actually helps me that, because there are times when, you know, she just wants to be heard. That's her phrase. Right. And I'm like, and I told her, I said years ago, I said, you know, I'm doing the best I can to get a grip on this, but if you can give me just a wink and a nod, a smoke signal that says, hey, I'm coming to talk and you need to shut up, I can do that. I just need to understand, because I'm a fixer. I go into motion when if someone I love has a problem. I mean, it's just a perfect example. If it would be like on a physical level, and this has never happened, and I don't ever expect it will, because I raise my kids to keep themselves out of these terrible situations. But if they were in a terrible situation and one of them was being threatened on any level, I would just act. I would just, because that's me. I'm a protector. I'm a fixer. So if you want me to not do what I do, I could do it. I just need to know when it's time. And now when Terry starts to talk, I've gotten good enough. Hey, do you just want to be heard, or do you want me to participate in a solution?
Yeah.
And that for me was just I needed to know when it was time to do what I needed to do. That was a huge change for me.
Yes. In my previous relationships, both, you know, female and male, and just, you know, even in work relationships as well, I was quick to defend or explain or solve.
Mm-hmm.
But now I recognize the power of active listening. Colby, what do you think of what resonates for you when you hear my revelation of that I need to listen more, that I speak, and I actively do it daily? Colby.
Yeah, I honestly, I think, you know, one of these things, we get stuck in this mindset of like, oh, I'm just not good at that. It's all this stuff is learned. You can acquire this, right? Like you can acquire charisma, you can acquire active listening, right? And so I, like John, we have a mechanism in our house. I've been with my wife for almost 18 years.
Okay.
And so our mechanism is, do you want a sounding board or a solution board? Right. And she just answers it. Right. And so based on that, and keep in mind, we didn't have that day one. Like I was exactly the same. It was like solve the problem for like 10 years, probably more. And then it was just like, you got to look at the data points. Are you getting the results? Is this about you or about them? Like, again, kind of in the previous segment, if they're trusting you with vulnerability, like don't shit all over that trust. Right. So just ask the question. There's nothing wrong with it.
I love that. Do you need a solution board or a sounding board? And Flynn has often said when her and Aaron are having a disagreement or something like that, you know, the question is, what do you need from me right now? Right. With really no expectations on that response, right? Which is, what do you need? And often I'll even say to Lauren sometime, which is like, Lauren, right now I just need you to listen to me. I don't need you to respond. I don't need an opinion. I don't need commentary. I just want you to be 2 ears to allow me to express what I'm feeling right now. And that's it. Because sometimes that's what we need. Right. When sometimes our partner wants to solve, right. When it's like, well, no, I just need a sounding board right now. Right, Colby? Right. So,
yeah.
Right. So the next one here that I've learned, guys, and I know we talk about this all the time, especially you and me, Johnny, is my emotions are my responsibility. They're not yours. They're mine. And that's where you've taught me, John, very much. And I'm very, very full of love for this one, is the idea of is responding instead of reacting. Because when my reaction happens, that's when my emotions are getting in the way, right? So it's learning how to take my emotions and putting my responsibility around them. That was a game changer for me. Instead of always thinking or blaming something else or somebody else. No, man. My own mirror, my emotions are my responsibility. How I choose to handle them is entirely up to me. Not you, John Anderson. Not you, Colby. Not you, Lauren. It's me.
Yeah. As soon as a person stops blaming others for anything in their life, especially this topic, it's revolutionary, you know, because when you blame someone else, you're not taking accountability. And if you don't take accountability, you don't grow.
Yeah. The third one here, which is, I would say, boys, I haven't struggled with. I've struggled with what AJ talked about in the previous segment, which is this how society accepts vulnerability. When the light really went on for me during my journey that vulnerability is strength, it was a game changer. Vulnerability and empathy and just learning how to listen to others, Colby, when I really learned to put my insecurities aside and go, okay, no, this is actually my strength. Me having emotion, me welling up instead of the guys that don't. I'm fucking stronger than that guy over there. And that was the game changer for me. Hard to do, but that was the game changer, boys.
Well, you gotta really not worry about what other people are gonna say.
Yes.
You know, it's like, I'm gonna say this because this is the way I feel.
Yes.
And I might get, I might get torn apart by the people around me, but I still feel this way.
Yes.
So that's it.
Colby, I also had to learn during my journey from over time, both personal and professional relationships, is that growth truly requires discomfort. And I use the analogy of the gym. When I'm going from 250 to 275 on the bench, it's going to be fucking discomfortable for a while, right? But if I want to get to 275, it's going to be painful and I got to go there. But talk about this idea of growth requiring discomfort. I got to imagine, Colby, day one with your wife, figuring out how to fight to year 18, there was a lot of discomfort along the way for you growing as a man, Colby.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, beyond description, right? But if there's a statement that has really resonated, the more and more I feel like I have momentum. It's growth is 1 foot outside of your comfort zone, right? So it's like when it comes to relationships and all that, like I couldn't agree with you more, Keith. Is just anything easy is going to feel hollow to you, right? So it's just kind of one of those things where, like you guys have mentioned before, where John was saying, if people are talking smack about you, that's a really good indication you're on the right path. Like it's the same in this case. The more discomfort you have, just if you need an illustration, look at last year. Could last year you have handled that? Yeah. This year you can. That's a really good indication you're moving forward.
Well, it's a skill because, that in myself, I've gotten to the point where if I'm comfortable, I get very uncomfortable. I need to feel uncomfortable to feel more like myself, because if I'm comfortable, I know that something's slipping, because you're either getting better or you're getting worse. And if you're comfortable, you're getting worse. If you can learn to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, now you've really kind of changed the paradigm of how your life evolves.
It's interesting to hear you say that, Johnny, because I still do it to this day. How this show keeps me accountable. When I go into the gym over there, when there's times that I want to make the easy choice, I'm quickly reminded of you and Marty, and then of my own mirror. I'm like, well, fuck, I can't make the easy choice because I'm gonna feel hollow and unfulfilled at the end of it, because it's happened to me. So I always make the harder one, and it's so much more fulfilling when you make the harder one, even if you fail, because at least you tried. Right. So next one, Johnny, I'm looking at you this one, brother, because we've talked privately about this topic many times. Past relationships were lessons, not failures. John Anderson.
Oh shit, man. It's like, everything, it's not just relationships. I mean, that's a general thought. You can figure every failure as a lesson. Right. It doesn't make a difference, what we're talking about relationships. But if you're not learning it, and you see this all the time, you see people I know people just like this. They will literally get out of a relationship and into another one.
Yep.
Because all they're trying to do is recover what they lost. They're not trying to figure out what the problem was. And you find these people that move through their whole lives this way. And then what happens is they're so uncomfortable by themselves. All they want to do is seek that comfort of having a mate, and there is zero growth in this pattern.
Yeah. That's I think that's a common theme for many humans.
I've seen. I was like this when I was younger, so I know both sides of the fence. When I finally was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to sit in this chair, and I'm going to be okay by myself, meaning not going out and finding a partner for the night, not having a girlfriend, whatever it was. That was life-changing, man. And it took a while, because I felt pretty empty without a companion or a the sex partner for the night, whatever it was, whatever I was seeking. I had to realize, okay, you know what? No more seeking. You need to be comfortable. I shouldn't say comfortable. You need to be okay by yourself. Yeah. And once you're there, now it's a different game you're playing.
Well, it's a good segue to this next one, Colby and Johnny, which is this idea of boundaries are acts of self-respect, right? Setting, maintaining healthy boundaries used to feel selfish to me. Now I understand that clear boundaries, they're actually opportunities. They actually create stronger, more respectful relationships with myself, with my friends, with my family, with my partner. And I've learned to communicate my limits clearly and respect others' boundaries. So I know we've talked about boundaries here in the show before, but Colby, when you hear boundaries, do you hear limitations or do you hear opportunities, Colby?
Yeah, if I can choose door number 3, I'd say clarity, right? Like you're just being really clear. I mean, in anything, whether it's business relationships, personal relationships, it's just the person on the other end. I think the more clarity you can give them, the less friction you have, right? And so I like what John said is just you're sitting there, wanting a partner and then actively deciding, now I got to learn more about myself first, right? And so if you just get deeper, you get more clarity. It's a lot easier to project that. And then you just have a lot less, firefighting in your life because you're so clear on what's important to you and what isn't. And that I was really resonating with going from relationship as solving a problem. You should never get with anyone to solve a problem ever.
Yeah.
Right. And so that is everything John said. I wish I could just package it up and sell it because it's damn right. Like, it's so, if you don't know enough about you, it's almost irresponsible to bring someone else on that ride because you have more work to do before you can possibly invest in someone else.
And then we invite children into that equation, and it causes a whole other set of challenges and yet opportunities. Hey, we're talking with Colby and Keith and John Anderson here in Mornings in Live with Keith and Friends. 8 ways I've grown since my last relationship, a perspective on emotional evolution. Get into the last 2 here, boys. Support. I know we talked this a few moments ago. Support doesn't mean fixing. Sometimes support is just listening, understanding, and being there for the person on the other end. And I've had to learn that. I know, Johnny, you talk about because you're a fixer. I'm a fixer. Colby, you're a fixer. Nope, not fixing, just listening, just supporting. That's it. Just giving you what I need. And then the last one, boys, is self-work is never finished. And I know that that's what this show is all about. And that's what I wake up with every single day. And Johnny, I know you do, Colby, as well, is that there's no finish line to cross. And I had to learn that the hard way when I built my previous company, sold it, cashed the check on Friday, and then felt empty as fuck all weekend, realizing that, Monday's here and I got to keep going. I'm not done. That was the eye opener for me. Right? So, because if you don't have purpose and you're just chasing, self-work's never finished. Life's never finished. You got to keep going, man. Always got to keep turning those lug nuts on the wheel. So anyways, there we go. 8 things I learned since my last relationship, quickly going through them, listening more than I'm speaking, my emotions are my responsibility. Vulnerability is my strength. Growth requires discomfort. Past relationships were lessons, not failures. Boundaries, acts of self-respect. And support doesn't mean fixing. Most importantly, the self-work that you have, guys, never finished. That's why we have the show, the free accountability show, 8 o'clock Eastern time, Mornings in Live with Keith and Friends. We're wrapping it up here in the second hour here. Myself, Johnny, and Colby. Colby, what do you got on the agenda today, brother, besides being sick?
Well, yeah, I feel I'm on the other side of it. So I definitely have Tuesdays and Thursdays are meeting days. So I've got a couple in-persons, got a couple internals, just excited to chat with people today.
Nice. Take a quick minute or less to promote and plug the Autonomy Agency so we can create some content for you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, Autonomy Agency is on the baseline of basically something I personally struggle with, which was burnout with the agency, right? So speaking of like cashing a check and that sort of stuff, when the agency hit our first $1 million a year, I burnt out twice in that same year, right? And so it's why it resonates so much with you guys is because it's the less you can do alone, the further you will go. Right. So I burnt out because I said yes to everything. So Autonomy Agency exists to serve 6-figure agency owners because those are the people who built something from nothing and got it to a successful point. But then they hit this wall because they built it all by themselves. And now they're at this inflection point where, do I hire a team? Do I buy this tool? Do I invest more? Do I, any of those things? And then they realize, oh, their agency's running them and they're not running the agency. Right. So autonomy is really important because what is autonomy? It's the ability to say yes or no without fear. And these people have a ton of fear about saying no, right? So the promise is simple. you're working over 40 hours a week, likely 50, 60, 70. If you're a 6-figure agency owner, I'm going to help you get to 7 figures working 30 hours a week. Plain and simple.
Love that. And if you guys remember when we had Colby on the last show here, Johnny, his entrepreneurial journey almost killed him. Right? He was working, busting his ass, woke up going, holy fuck, man, I am lost. I'm out of sorts and I don't like where I'm at in life right now. So Colby started the Autonomy Agency and works with leaders, agency owners that are going down the same path. And Colby's at the end of the path going, no, you don't want to go down this one because this is what's going to happen. So I'm going to stop you before you get too far. It's probably as simple as that, eh, Colby?
As simple as that. Yeah. If I can help even, one person prevent burnout and be successful along the way, then that's my life's mission. And I'll do it as much as I can.
Awesome. Johnny, what do you got on the agenda today, brother?
Well, it's a non-training day,
Yeah.
which means that I've got some extra time to invest in content. It's going to be a good content day.
Nice. That's exceptional. That's awesome. All right. Well, listen, we're gonna wrap up here. I'm gonna get into the creator spotlight with Jimmy. Johnny, I know you got to get on your way. Colby, you're gonna get on your way as well.
Yep, I will bounce, and this is amazing. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. I appreciate you, Colby, hanging out with us this morning here. Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends. We're gonna cut some content for Colby, and you guys can find Colby at the Autonomy Agency. You can also find him over on LinkedIn. And Johnny, we'll be back here tomorrow morning, 8:00 Eastern time, and continue our morning loop, brother.
Have a good loop, guys.
All right, let's get after it.
You got it.
Beautiful. Jimmy, let's keep it going, buddy. Let's keep it going with the creative spotlight. We'll walk Colby out of here, walk Johnny out of here, and we are going to keep the show rocking and rolling with this segment. Where's my sound? Yes. I like that sound effect. Jimmy, that was good, man. Colby's awesome. Woo! Big fan of Colby Whetker. Big fan. Facts from Milwaukee also helps too. I've been to Milwaukee a few times. I would agree with AJ. Underrated city. Milwaukee is an underrated city. It reminds me of Winnipeg in many ways. Underrated, Midwestern city, cold as F. All right, so Jimmy, looking a little lost here. There we go. Okay. Yes. Oh yeah. I'm pulling up something on the feed here that I'm going to share with you guys here in a second. We're doing the creator spotlight. Somebody who's all about transforming workplaces with intentional positivity. That's who we are going to pull up on our screen here today. Just get myself organized, Jimmy. What do you guys got going on there today, Nation? You guys all ready for Christmas? 7 days away. Wow, 7 days. Or as Johnny Krask would say, wow, meow. Hey, if you guys missed the episode yesterday, I sat down with John Krask yesterday. One of the big LinkedIn dogs. Oh yeah, we had a big chat. 45 minutes or so, 46 minutes, maybe 50 minutes. Just nugget after nugget after nugget dropping Krasky's mouth. We talked LinkedIn, we talked the future of community, we talked social, we talked everything. It was a great conversation we had with Krasky and myself yesterday. But now, let's do this, Jimmy. So today, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. Creator Spotlight. Somebody who transforms workplaces with intentional positivity. He's all about trust, collaboration, success, engagement, intentional positivity. He's got a unique background. Tech entrepreneur, tech engineer, 6 times career pivoter, Ironman finisher. Woo, baby. Global speaker and coach. He's all about helping people that have challenges that leaders face. Engagement versus happiness, staying motivated, performance elevation, work-life integration. We don't talk work-life balance here. Nope. Doesn't exist in the real world. Not at all, baby. His coaching impact. He's all about transforming managers, deepening insights into workplace dynamics, versatile strategies through keynotes, workshops, and personalized coaching. His approach to workplace happiness: identify strengths, set achievable goals, foster collaboration, and celebrate their success. So, are you ready to transform your workplace? Because if you are, you need to meet the person we are going to celebrate this morning on Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. And Jimmy, I'm pulling up the LinkedIn feed here too, so that we can do a little bit of a swap over of the Gamma to also the LinkedIn feed with this expression of our creator. So this morning, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends, on one of my favorite segments of the show, called the Creator Spotlight for Community Corner. Today, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends wants to celebrate. Jimmy, I got the Gamma up on stage, brother. Today, we are going to celebrate this man, Antonio Savalas, who's transforming workplaces with intentional positivity. Yes, baby. You're going to discover how Antonio Savalas helps leaders embrace happiness as their competitive advantage, fostering engagement and success without burnout is what Antonio does. And we're going to take a few moments to celebrate Antonio. You see, we put together from power positive relationships. His unique background is all about tech. Ironman finisher, 6 times career pivoter, global speaker. Jimmy, let's go over to the LinkedIn page here. We're going to pull up here as well now. So let's do that. We're going to pull up his Antonio's LinkedIn presence so you guys can see what his LinkedIn profile looks like here. So you'll see here, he's all about driving team performance through intentional positivity, speaking, coaching, workshops. The dude wears the bow tie. Anybody with the bow tie is a rock star in my books. So I would invite you to check out Antonio Savalas. He's got a speaker reel. And if you look at his most recent post, the dude is rocking it, man. He's out there just hanging out there doing his thing, preaching values you don't follow is why your team's engagement is shit. And I loved when I saw this post up earlier this morning because it's true. We got a lot of leaders talking values, saying this, saying that. But if you don't follow the leaders, if you don't follow the values yourself, the engagement from your team is not going to happen. Nope. Not at all. So as a leader, don't talk about work-life balance, then don't follow it. All right? Because your actions aren't going to support your team. If you're going to talk work-life balance and then inundate your team with a bunch of crap outside of that statement, nobody's going to follow you. And that's the kind of content that Antonio Savalas talks about. So today, Mornings in Live with Keith and Friends is excited to celebrate Antonio Savalas in our creator spotlight, a Toronto, Ontario guy, a fellow Canadian. Antonio, we want to have you here in the lab so we can celebrate you and bring you to the stage on Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. All right, there we go, Jimmy. We're done celebrating Antonio Savalas. And I guess we're going to work towards wrapping up the show here today. Yeah, I think we are. I think it's going to be the plan. So guys, we're going to wrap up this week, going to go into next week. We're working on our schedule for next week. Monday, we've Dr. John Page joining us. We've teased this topic a couple days here over the last couple days around how folks are dealing with Christmas and holiday season and how their emotions are dealing with it all. Some are happy, some are sad, some are mediocre, some are ambivalent, some are expecting gifts, some aren't expecting gifts. Some of us feel all nervous about having to buy gifts. Christmas and the holiday season unlocks these emotions in all of us that I think sometimes we all struggle to understand and struggle with where to put our emotions. Should we be happy? What happens if I'm sad? Can I be sad? Do I have to have a happy face all the time? But I want to be sad. But no, but you should be happy. It's Christmas. Well, no, but I want to be sad. So we're going to get into a conversation with Dr. John Page on Monday around what to do during this holiday season when maybe you don't want to be happy. Maybe you want to be, but you don't know how to be. Maybe all of the celebrations around you are causing grief, causing anxiety, causing stress, causing emotions you don't recognize. So we're going to have that conversation with Dr. John Page on Monday here in the lab. And I invite all of you to join that conversation and bring your comments to the table. Why are you sad during the holidays? Is it because of expectations? Is it because of all the food choices? Is it because you're just a hermit? Because you're just a curmudgeon? Maybe those are the reasons. We're going to get into that chat with Dr. John Page. Okay, Jimmy, I think we're going to wrap her up today, pal. Another one is, I know, Jimmy. I know tomorrow's show is Friday. I know we got a show with Jory on Friday, but Monday does come after Friday, Jimmy. So Monday we got a show as well. So don't be telling me we don't got no show on Monday. No, on Monday we got a show with Dr. John Page. Tomorrow is Friday. Yes, I know tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow's show, we don't have topic yet. Well, we do have topic, but I'm not revealing it yet. We do have Jory Jansen joining us tomorrow for the protein break. And I do think we have some guests for the show tomorrow, which I'm going to quickly look on. Oh, yeah, we have Justin Roethlisberger, I think is how you say his last name. He'll be joining us in the show tomorrow as well. And I think what we're going to be leaning into tomorrow is 2025 wellness trends. As we look into 2025, what people are looking at doing, what they're embracing, how they're helping themselves be accountable, and how they're achieving big, audacious goals. Okay, let's roll. Jimmy, let's get out of here. Let's go to work. This last 90 minutes is not work. It's just fun. Just topics and conversations and helping people hit their big goals, get into bed, not hit the snooze button. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go to work. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time, right here in Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. YouTube, LinkedIn, X, Threads, all the platforms. Primarily live on LinkedIn. Come hang out with me. Come friend me. And hey, ladies, we're looking for a female to join the team. So if you think you can keep up with myself and John and Marty, and then listen, here's the thing. We're not just looking for any chick. No way, man. We're looking for somebody who's not afraid to do the shit that others won't do, like myself or Johnny or Marty. So that's what we're looking for. Looking for somebody to hang out and mix it up with us. Somebody who's not afraid to have the kind of conversations we're having here in the lab. So on behalf of John Anderson, C. Marty Fit, Christopher Martin, Colby Whetker, Adam Peters, Shinku, producer Jimmy, and me, I'm Keith Bilous. We're going to get out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. Where's my sound effects? Let's see here. There it is. Let's get out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to get out of here and go to work.